Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, born March 29, 1944, Accra, is a Ghanaian lawyer and politician who became President of Ghana in January 2017. Akufo-Addo was born and raised in Accra, the son of Edward and Adeline Akufo-Addo. He received his primary education in Accra, first attending the government boys' school and then Row Road School. Akufo-Addo went on to the United Kingdom for his secondary education, studying at Lancing College, 1957–61. He came back home to Ghana and in 1964 began attending the University of Ghana, graduating with a bachelor's degree in economics in 1967. Akufo-Addo returned to the UK to study law and was called to the bar in England, Middle Temple, in 1971 and in Ghana in 1975. He worked in France at the Paris office of the U.S. law firm Coudert Brothers from 1971 to 1975. He then returned to Ghana and from 1975 to 1979 worked in the chambers of U.V. Campbell. In 1979 he co-founded the law firm Akufo-Addo, Prempeh Co. Among Akufo-Addo's family members who figured prominently in Ghana's pursuit of independence and thereafter in public service were his father, who served as ceremonial president from 1970 to 1972, his great-uncle, the nationalist J.B. Dankwa, and his uncle, William Ofori-Addo. Akufo-Addo also was engaged in political activism. In the late 1970s he served as General Secretary of the People's Movement for Freedom and Justice, PMFJ, a group that opposed the plans of the military government in place at the time. In 1992 he joined the nascent New Patriotic Party, NPP, and served as a Member of Parliament under the party's banner for 3 terms, 1996 to 2008. Under Pres. John Kufuor, Akufo-Addo served as Attorney General and Minister of Justice from 2001 until 2003. That year he became Foreign Minister, a position he held until 2007, when he resigned in order to stand in the contest to be the NPP's flag bearer in the 2008 presidential election. He was elected as the party's candidate. In the December 7, 2008, Ghanaian presidential election, Akufo-Addo won the first round of voting with more than 49% of the vote. However, as he did not take the requisite 50% plus 1, he and his closet challenger, John Evans Atta Mills of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, advanced to a second round, held on December 28. This time Akufo-Addo was narrowly defeated by Mills, taking 49.77% of the vote to Mills's 50.23%. Akufo-Addo stood for president in the December 7, 2012, election again as the NPP's candidate. He faced the NDC's John Mahama, who had succeeded to the presidency earlier that year after Mills's unexpected death, and 6 other contenders. Mahama was announced the winner, with 50.7% and with Akufo-Addo coming in a very close second with 47.7%. However, Akufo-Addo and the NPP lodged allegations of electoral fraud and challenged the results at the Supreme Court. After several tense months, in August 2013 the court upheld Mahama's victory. Akufo-Addo accepted the outcome and urged his supporters to do the same. He was lauded for his response to the ruling, which helped diffuse tensions in the country. In 2016 Akufo-Addo stood as the NPP presidential candidate for a 3rd time. He again faced Mahama as well as 5 other candidates in the election, which was held on December 7. This time Akufo-Addo was declared the winner, with about 53.8% of the vote, and Mahama, who trailed him with about 44.4%, conceded. Akufo-Addo was inaugurated on January 7, 2017. Akufo-Addo had inherited economic problems, partly due to a depression of global prices on Ghana's key commodities, burgeoning public wage costs, and increasing debt. During the first year of his term, he implemented one of his signature campaign promises, launching a program to put a factory in each of the country's more than 200 districts. Also in 2017 Akufo-Addo rolled out a program to provide free senior secondary education. In 2018 he appointed a special prosecutor to tackle the long-standing issue of corruption. Although Ghana's economy grew under Akufo-Addo, progress was interrupted by the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. The country's next presidential election was held on December 7, 2020. Akufo-Addo, who again faced Mahama, as well as 10 other candidates, was re-elected outright in the first round of voting, with slightly more than 51% of the vote. Mahama, who closely trailed him with about 47%, disputed the election results and filed a petition at the Supreme Court, but it was rejected in March 2021. Meanwhile, Akufo-Addo was sworn in for his second term on January 7, 2021. Akufo-Addo had his primary education at the government boys' school and later Row Road School, both in Accra Central. Nana went on to England to study for his O-level and A-level examinations. He returned to Ghana in 1962 to teach at the Accra Academy before going to the University of Ghana in 1964 to read economics. After graduating as an economist, he went on to read law in the UK and was called to the English Bar, Middle Temple, in July 1971 and the Ghana Bar in 1975. He is married to Rebecca, daughter of the Speaker of the Parliament of the Third Republic of Ghana, the late Mr. Justice J. H. Griffiths Randolph. They have 5 children, with 5 grandchildren, and are both devout church-going Christians. Akufo-Addo stayed in France for 5 years as a lawyer at the now-defunct New York-based international law firm, Coudert Brothers. Apart from the welcome exposure to the dynamics of international corporate transactions, his stay in France also made him fluent in French. In 1975, he returned home to Accra to continue with his legal career. He joined the chambers of U.V. Campbell from 1975 to 1979, and in 1979 co-founded the law firm Akufo-Addo, Prempeh Co, which has become one of the prominent law firms in Ghana. Some Ghanaian lawyers who passed through his law firm are among the most outstanding lawyers at the Ghanaian bar today. They include Sophia Akufo, Justice of the Supreme Court, Joyce Darko, Daniel Afari Yebawu, Philip Addison, Joe Gardy, a former Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Alex Kaner, Frank Davies, Kweku Painsil, Ursula Owusu, Addo Akie, Akufo-Addo's successor as MP for Aboakwa South constituency, Akoto Mpa, Yoni Kalendi, Kwame Akufo, Kwaku Asarifai, and Godfred Dame. Like the doyen of Gold Coast politics, J.B. Dankwa, and others before him, Akufo-Addo used his law practice to champion the cause of human rights, rule of law, justice, freedom, and democracy. He was well known for giving free legal assistance to the poor and fought for the rights and liberties of the Ghanaian people. Indeed, many of the important constitutional cases of the modern era, which, inter alia, protected the independence of the judiciary, the right of the citizen to demonstrate without police permit, and the right of equal access of all political parties to the state-owned media, were undertaken by him. He is regarded as one of the most brilliant advocates in the history of the Ghanaian bar. Akufo-Addo has served on the boards and committees of a number of political, legal, commercial, and social organizations in the country. He was the first chairperson of DHL, GH, Ltd, Chairperson, COMSATS Communications, Co., Ltd, Publishers of the Statesman, and the first chairperson of the Ghana Committee on Human and People's Rights. He was responsible, through his association with the U.S. company, Millicom, for introducing mobile telephony into the country. In his early 30s, Akufo-Addo was the General Secretary of the Broad-Based People's Movement for Freedom and Justice, PMFJ, which was composed of political stalwarts such as Akwasi Amankwe Afrifa, William Ofori-Atta, Kamla Igbalig Badema, Albert Adu Bohen, Samo Kujito, Obada Samoa, Godfrey Agama, KSP Yanchua, Jones Ofori-Atta, Johnny Hansen, and Nii Amadamartafayo, Mr. No. This group led the No campaign in the Unigov referendum of 1978, designed to solicit popular support for a one-party military-led state. The No campaign ultimately brought about the downfall of the Akimpong military government on July 5, 1978, and the restoration of multi-party democratic rule to the country in 1979. Akufo-Addo had to go briefly into exile after the referendum, when his life was in danger. But, from Europe, he could be heard constantly on the BBC World Service, vigorously criticizing the military rulers back in Ghana and calling for a return to democracy. He is acknowledged as one of the leaders of the pro-democracy movement in Ghana. In 1991, Akufo-Addo was the chairman of the organizing committee of the Dankwa Akufo-Addo Memorial Club, a club dedicated to the preservation of the memory and ideals of the two great advocates of Ghanaian democracy, J.B. Dankwa and K.A. Akufo-Addo, Prime Minister of the Progress Party government of the Second Republic of Ghana. Akufo-Addo traveled throughout Ghana to establish branches of the club all over the country in the grassroots style for which he is known. These branches eventually transformed into local organs of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, prior to the elections of 1992, which heralded the reintroduction of democratic governance under the Fourth Republic. In 1992, he was the first national organizer of the NPP and, later that year, campaign manager of the party's first presidential candidate, Professor Albert Adu Bohen, the man of courage who broke the culture of silence in Ghana, and played such a crucial role in the reintroduction of democracy. In 1992, Akufo-Addo set up and financed the Statesman newspaper, which has become the unofficial mouthpiece of the NPP. In 1995, he led the famous Prempeh Co demonstrations of the Alliance for Change, AFC, a broad-based political pressure group, which mobilized millions of people onto the streets of Ghana to protest the harsh economic conditions of the Rawlings era. Some pundits in Ghana believe that this was instrumental in re-establishing the NPP as a more formidable force after Professor Adu Bohen. Akufo-Addo was elected 3 times between 1996 and 2008 as Member of Parliament for the Aboakwa South constituency in the eastern region of Ghana. From 2001 to 2007, as Cabinet Minister, first as Attorney General and Minister for Justice for 2 years, and later as Foreign Minister for 5 years, Akufo-Addo served in the government of President John Kufuor with distinction. As Attorney General, he was responsible for the repeal of the criminal libel law, which, hitherto, had been used to intimidate the media and criminalize free speech. The repeal has enabled the Ghanaian media become one of the most vibrant and freest in Africa. Under his chairmanship of the Legal Sector Reform Committee, the implementation of the court automation program was initiated. As Foreign Minister, he was fully involved in the successful Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, peace efforts in Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, and Guinea-Bissau, and was chairman of the ECOWAS Mediation and Security Council in 2003. In 2004, Ghana was elected one of the 15 pioneer members of the African Union, Peace and Security Council, a mandate that was renewed at the Summit in Khartoum in January 2006. Akufo-Addo was chosen by his peers on the Executive Council to chair the Ministerial Committee of 15 that fashioned the Eswatini Consensus, which defined the African Union's common position on UN reforms. He negotiated for the 2007 Summit to be held in Accra as part of Ghana's Golden Jubilee celebrations, and chaired the Executive Council in 2007. Ghana was elected by her peers to take the non-permanent West African seat on the UN Security Council for 2006-07. In August 2006, Akufo-Addo chaired the meeting of the Security Council which took the decision that halted Israel's massive incursions into Lebanon. Again, Ghana was elected to the new UN body, the Human Rights Council, with the highest number of votes 183 out of 191 of any country, and as a pioneer member of another UN body, the Peace-Building Commission. In October 1998, Nana Akufo-Addo competed for the presidential candidacy of the NPP and lost to John Kufuor, the man who eventually won the December 2000 presidential election and assumed office as President of Ghana in January 2001. Akufo-Addo was the chief campaigner for candidate Akufo in the 2000 election and became the first Attorney General and Minister for Justice of the Akufo era. Akufo-Addo resigned from the Akufo government in July 2007 to contest for the position of presidential candidate of his party, the NPP, for the 2008 elections. Competing against 16 others, he won 48% of the votes in the first round of that election, but was given a unanimous endorsement in the second round, making him the party's presidential candidate. In the December 7, 2008 presidential race, he received, in the first round, more votes than John Atta Mills, the eventual winner. In the first round, Akufo-Addo received 4,159,439 votes, representing 49.13% of the votes cast, placing him first, but not enough for the 50% needed for an outright victory. It was the best ever performance for a first-time presidential candidate in the Fourth Republic. In the runoff, Mills received 4,521,032 votes, representing 50.23%, thus beating Akufo-Addo by the smallest margin in Ghana's, and, indeed, in Africa's political history. Akufo-Addo accepted the results without calling even for a recount, thereby helping to preserve the peace, freedom, and stability of Ghana. Akufo-Addo again contested in the 2012 national elections against the NDC candidate, the late Mills' successor as president, John Mahama, and lost. That election generated considerable controversy, and was finally decided by the Supreme Court in a narrow 5/4 decision in favor of John Mahama. Akufo-Addo is credited with helping to preserve the peace of the country by the statesmanlike manner in which he accepted the adverse verdict of the court, at a time of high tension in the country. In March 2014, Akufo-Addo announced his decision to seek his party's nomination for the third time ahead of the 2016 election. He secured an unprecedented, landslide victory of 94.35% of the votes in the party's presidential primary in October 2014, in a contest with 7 competitors. Akufo-Addo also served as chair of the Commonwealth Observer Mission for the South African elections in 2014. He was elected President of Ghana in the December 7 elections, after obtaining 53.85% of the total valid votes cast, as announced by the Electoral Commission. Thank you for watching this video.